so I'm still adamant that United need to bring in a more offensive left wing back option in the remaining month of the transfer window. Diego Leon only turned 18 a few months ago and up until now has only played in the Paraguayan league. He's definitely not ready for significant minutes in the Premier League next season. He's still got significant defensive deficiencies in his game that will be exploited in the Premier League, such as when he pushes up in order to engage a winger receiving the ball, often overcommitting and being left flat-footed and bypassed. In my opinion, his ideal development path is to stay with the under-21s until January and then to go on loan to Ineos' own Lausanne in Switzerland for the second half of the season, followed by a loan to a Liga, Bundesliga or Eredivisie club next season, specifically in a back three system where he can play the role of a wing-back, before he then returns to United in the 27-28 season at the age of 20. Now, in terms of current ability, I think Harry Amas is closer to Dorgu than he is to Diego Leon, but he's also only turned 18 this year and he needs consistent game time for his development, and so I would loan him to a mid to lower table championship, Portuguese Primeira Liga or Eredivisie club for next season. Now at the moment, Dorgu is definitely the best of the three. He excels when it comes to ball carrying in the middle third, but Amorim's system is hugely reliant on the end products of the wing backs in the final third, given that we don't play with wingers ahead of them. And I do think this is an issue for United, as at the moment Dorgu's crossing is the area of his game that needs most improvement, as often his crosses are either overhit or unable to beat the first centre-back, which will significantly limit United's ability to create chances from that left side, putting greater dependence on creating from the right. And if you do have an aerially dominant striker like Benjamin Sesko, in order to create as many high value chances for him as possible, you want wing backs with crossing and 1v1 dribbling ability of natural wide attackers. But before I analyse the video footage, if you want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to jerseyfifa.co. They've got a variety of different current season and retro jerseys, including the new season Manchester United releases for the upcoming season. They sent me over the new home shirt with Bruno Fernandes on the back, as well as this white Manchester United away shirt from the 06-07 season with Ronaldo number 7 on the back, alongside this Zidane Juventus shirt from the 90s as well. You can use code ALANTIS at checkout to get a 10% discount, so I'll leave a link in the description and in the comments section below. Also, a quick tangent, I'm not quite sure why people keep saying in response, Dorgu is only 20, why are you writing him off? Critiquing a 20-year-old player's skill set in relation to being a starter at Manchester United is not writing them off, and him being 20 is irrelevant when we are talking about the quality of United's starting players. The response isn't even for the argument I'm making. The point isn't that Dorgu doesn't have top-level potential, it's purely based on his current ability in the final third. We need to stop conflating arguments and seeing every opinion as either black or white, creating these fan fiction narratives of how good our young players are in terms of current ability doesn't even help with their individual development. It just leads to them having greater responsibility and pressure, which, as we've seen with the likes of Højlund and Garnacho, can lead to their development stagnating. Dorgu as an understudy at left wing back is his ideal role in the squad for a United side that should be targeting the top 5. So who would be a realistic option for United to pursue in the remaining month of the window? Well, the three options I talked about at the start of the summer were Theo Hernandez, who's now gone to Saudi, Dwight McNeil and Diego Moreira. I've done a separate video on McNeil and how his crossing ability would be perfect for an aerially dominant striker like En-Nesyri. And so if someone like Sesko was signed at centre forward, he would have chances throughout the course of the season. If you want to see the analysis on him, I'll leave that video linked in the eye above. Now, Diego Moreira wouldn't provide the same quality of crossing that Dwight McNeil would, but like Hamad, being a natural winger who was converted into a deeper fullback position last season at Strasbourg, Moreira would provide the 1v1 dribbling ability and end product that could significantly improve United's ability to create chances down the left side. From the eye test, you can clearly see the difference in quality between Moreira compared with natural fullbacks, having exceptional close ball control in congested areas and when carrying the ball at speed, with his trademark skill being that 180 turn that he does when he receives a ball close to the touchline with his back to goal, shaping like he's going to go backwards before spinning on a dime, leaving the pressing player flat-footed as they are unable to anticipate the change of direction, before accelerating into the space. He provides a ball carrying ability that Dorgu does, but his fluid body movement, quick footwork and close ball control enables him to be a significantly greater threat when he's able to isolate defenders in 1v1s in the channel, able to go inside or out, and whilst I do think he needs to improve his ball manipulation when looking to work an angle for a shot, as well as his actual shooting ability on his right foot when he does cut inside, I still think he'd provide a greater goal threat down the left than United currently have, with the left-footed Travilla goal that he scored last season when arriving to meet a cutback on the edge of the box being a perfect example of this. However, the main area of offensive improvement that Diego Moreira would bring to the United side is in 1v1 and crossing situations. If we look at this example from the pre-season game against West Ham, when Bruno Fernandes switches the ball out to Dorgu, you can see that he's in a 1v1 position, isolated against a fullback with the option of either bouncing a short pass into Cunha before darting beyond the fullback to receive the 1-2, or directly looking to beat the defender in a 1v1 down the outside. However, because Dorgu is more of a fullback than a natural winger, he's not as confident or decisive in these type of situations, and so he ends up going backwards with the West Ham midfield line now able to get back behind the ball, whereas over the course of a full season, a player like Diego Moreira, who is a natural winger, is going to be far more effective in these type of situations. Alongside this, whilst Dorgu is far better suited to receiving the ball on the run when he's providing an overlap down the outside, as I said at the start of the video, his end product does need to improve. He is significantly better when it comes to low crosses across the box compared with aerial crosses from deep, but I do think that Diego Moreira is better in both situations, being astute when it comes to playing low crosses across a 6-yard box either first time or after having beaten his man in a 1v1, whilst also being a more reliable aerial crosser as well, something that would benefit a striker like Sesko if signed. Now, from a statistical point of view, we can see the similarities in output between Moreira and Amad, as when we look at this graph plotting expected assists against successful dribbles from last season for all fullbacks in Europe's top 5 leagues, you can see that both Moreira and Amad are ranking highly for both metrics, sitting as outliers ahead of the pack, ahead of even the likes of Nuno Mendes and Rayan Aït-Nouri, which obviously is slightly skewed due to them having played in more advanced positions, but it does show the significant benefit of converting wingers to those wing-back roles. Now, Dorgu's data on this graph is from the first half of the season at Lecce, which does aid our comparison considering, like Moreira and Amad, Dorgu did play a significant amount of minutes in more advanced roles, but as we can see, Dorgu does rank highly for dribbles, completing around the same amount as both Moreira and Amad. However, from the eye test you can see the difference between Dorgu and the other two, with Dorgu's dribbling tending to come on the transition through the middle third into the final third, when there is space for him to utilise his pace and power, rather than his close ball control, quick footwork and trickery higher up the pitch in tighter areas in 1v1 situations, which in comparison is where both Moreira and Amad excel. But the significant difference between Dorgu and Moreira is their chance creating output, with Dorgu ranking below the median for his expected assists, highlighting the area of his game that he does need to improve on most, as the ability to create high value chances from those wider areas is absolutely essential to any back three system using wingbacks without wingers ahead to provide that. But as a duo in the squad, Dorgu and Moreira provides Amorim with the perfect stylistic balance in that left wing-back position, with each player's strengths being in different areas. See, against the likes of Arsenal with Bukayo Saka or Liverpool with Mo Salah, Dorgu may be the better option, being better than Moreira physically and slightly better defensively in 1v1s and on the recovery when having to run back towards his own goal. Even though both physically and defensively, I have been impressed with Moreira's development. In terms of getting into and finishing from goal-scoring positions, I do feel like Moreira's ball-striking technique is cleaner and more consistent than Dorgu's at the moment, which is definitely something that should be factored in, as a wing-backs in the 3-4-3 essentially need to break into the same sort of offensive areas as a winger would, and we saw this against West Ham when United were able to win a loose ball in the centre of the pitch, setting up a promising quick transitional attack. And you can see that whilst Bruno Fernandes ends up looking for Højlund to his right, Dorgu was also providing movement ahead of him down the left, and when receiving the ball in these sorts of situations, I do feel like Diego Moreira is going to be superior when it comes to using ball manipulation to work a shooting angle, as well as finishing from that position as well. Although it should be said that Dorgu's forward movement ahead of play, breaking into shooting positions, as well as finishing from those as well, is far better than his crossing or his 1v1 dribbling ability, and so goal scoring wise the difference in quality between Moreira and Dorgu isn't as significant as in those other areas. However, whilst Moreira and Ahmad do need to improve their defensive awareness and positioning, specifically when it comes to dealing with runners in behind, I think you could also say the same with Dorgu as well, with all three still being early on in their development, in a new role that they hadn't played in prior to last season. But as you can see from this graph plotting percentage 1 against volume of defensive duels, all three of them do look competent, with both Ahmad and Moreira completing an unexpectedly high percentage of defensive duels, which is always a good sign. Now against the likes of Arsenal, City and Liverpool, when we may see Amorim adopt a more counter-attacking style, Dorgu's powerful ball-carrying ability through the defensive and middle third would be hugely valuable, but Moreira could also provide a similar ability, but would be superior in tighter areas, improving United not only in the final third as I've previously specified, but also in the build-up phase as well. See, currently when United do build up down the left side, against aggressive pressure, I often feel like Dorgu can be easily targeted and boxed in, sometimes struggling when he's receiving the ball with his back to goal, without a clear passing option infield straight away, due to his slightly more clunky style compared with Moreira when it comes to turning with the ball in tighter areas. However, as I showed at the start of the video, Moreira's ability to receive the ball with his back to goal, close to the touchline, and use his quick footwork, trickery, fluid body movement and that trademark 180 turn will significantly improve United's ability to progress the ball out of the defensive third under high pressure when playing down that left side, making us less reliant on going direct into the front three. Now against high pressure, when United want to control possession and still play out of pressure frequently, this is where Moreira would be the better option, as well as against deeper defensive shapes who sit off and force United wide, with Moreira's 1v1 dribbling ability and crossing from that left side significantly improving United's ability to create chances against these sorts of setups. Another benefit is that Diego Moreira would be a lot more comfortable playing on the right side than Dorgu, which would be hugely valuable if Ahmad does get injured, as he has done in the past 2 seasons, or when him and Mbeumo are absent for the African Cup of Nations player, as Leroy Sané in that first Pep City side around 2017 to 2019, being someone who could also be considered a stylistic alternative to Savinho at City as well. And so for between 23 to maybe £26 million, maybe up to 30 to 35 million with add-ons as well, that would be a deal I'd look to do. Chelsea did sell him to Strasbourg for less than £2 million last summer, so they may have some sort of sneaky buyback or sell-on clause that also has to be factored in, but I definitely think Moreira would be a realistic and a transformative signing for United this summer. So let me know what you think of Diego Moreira in the comment section below, and if you want to check out any cheap, good quality football jerseys, go over to jerseyfifa.co. You can use code Atlantis at checkout for a 10% discount. It'll be linked in the description and in the comment section below, and I'll leave my Patreon in case you want access to the plot graphs or to any of my articles on the end screen now as well.